Today's AskReddit post, 60yo and older. What is your biggest should have done that differently in life? What's the better way? Oh boy, this is gonna be a good one. Let's get started. I asked my 88-year-old grandma this and she said to stop placing value on what other people think of you. Recognize this is your life and get on with it. Do the things you want to do. This is probably one of the hardest, yet most satisfying and liberating realizations you could have. Asked my mother, 63, the same thing 1 month before she died in hospice of cancer. She said she spent far too much time thinking about what people thought of her. Miss you, mum. I took that lesson. Now I try to live my best life with way less ducks to give. Having recently turned 63, your post gives me a new and very valuable perspective. Thank you. I will be 64 tomorrow, 7/25/2020. I wish I had saved for retirement. I guess you're about to find out if they'll still need you and still feed you. Our unexpected Beatles. Relax, this stuff isn't so serious. I'm 3/4 done with life. Probably 20 more to go. 10 good ones and then it will start to get rough. Don't chase after things. Be simple. Eat simple. Enjoy life. Stop being critical. Enjoy this brief time. I enjoyed this perspective. Thank you. Yeah, I stress far too much over things, especially social things, but I really should just relax more and worry less about what might happen. Hard to do for someone that is downright paranoid sometimes and that trusts his dog more than most people. But still, if I'm less stressed and care less and hype things up less, I can have more fun, right? Pay yourself first no matter what. Don't do anything too much. Smoking, drinking, games, porn, anything in excess will hold you back. Learn to honestly deal with your emotions. I've got everything in moderation, including moderation as a motto to live by. If in moderation means about 50% and then we make a moderation moderate, this gives us 75% of everything. Haha, nah. Everyone who has known me has heard me say this and at least I can't see it that way. It's like, be moderate in things. Don't drink too much. Don't masturbate too much. Don't sleep too much. Don't talk too much. Don't listen too much. etc. But also don't always be moderate. Sometimes get ducked up and sleep the whole next day. Sometimes blow off that responsibility and do something spontaneous. etc. Don't always be moderate or you'll lose some kind of sense of adventure, of new experience, of feeling out the edges of human experience, changing your perspective, etc. Yes, like that. I should have made better marriage choices. Don't marry too young. Or if you do, just be really sure that you have the same values and same goals. If one of you doesn't want kids, for instance, that should be a deal breaker. If one doesn't like sex or intimacy, huge deal breaker. If she is a jerk to your friends and family, get out of that relationship. If she is never wrong or will never admit it, get out and stay out of credit card debt. Prenup. I've ridden that rodeo 3 times. They all left with fabulous parting gifts. Spoiler alert, I'm a woman. Don't think it just happens to men. Ladies, I am really glad to have read your comment. When I was younger I used to think prenups equals not believing the marriage would last. Then, I got married at 19 and divorced at 20 from someone I never ever thought I'd split with. Looking back, it was a dumb marriage. But now I am 23 and I make $85k a year. Technology. I hope in 10-20 years to move my way into management and make double or triple this. I live in Washington and I want a house, and you may have heard that houses are expensive as hell up here. My ex is 24 and while he does what he loves and I know he barely gets by and has no intention of working a side job to help him get more financially ahead. If we had divorced at 30 I would have been a little ducked. Anyway, I decided going forward I want a prenup. That divorce was easy because we both went our own way with our things. If I ever get divorced again, which I now understand is a real thing that happens and sometimes you can't avoid it, I would like it to be painless as possible, at least in finances. If I ever get married again, I also love the idea of being the cool aunt that travels the world. Who knows? I guess I'm super naive cause I thought prenups were primarily for assets, rather than salary, and alimony is for very specific circumstances, usually for long-term marriages. I didn't think they'd just garnish your wages for any given divorce. I asked my 74-year-old grandma and she said she should have had her husband wear a condom. Hope that went alright. Many people view kindness as weakness. Took me a long time to realize its strength. Be kind whenever possible. And it's always possible. Dalai Lama. This. I will try to be kind to people no matter what. However, it's feminine or be a gruc. I don't care. Being kind is one of the hardest things to do. Yet it is very rewarding to see people brood in anger while I'm smiling across the meadow. I wish it would stop being seen as weak to be kind. People who say being kind is feminine are the peak of toxic masculinity, and probably have more issues than I could even begin to describe. Incel probably if we're being honest. Being a good man simply means being a good person. How can people not understand this? I truly hope that we start seeing how strong vulnerability is. That shame, our mistake, pain or weaknesses are normal and need air and empathy. I wish I'd gone to the emergency room that day in 1991 when I had terrible stomach pain. I was a single working mom and didn't have health insurance, and I was afraid of the bill. I've suffered and nearly died a few times because of that bad choice. Worse, my children suffered and still do because of it. If you're willing to share, what happened? It took me a long time to realize that most people only do and say all the things they say and do to benefit themselves and their family. I'm seeing it. But as a teen relying on others to show me the ways of the world, it's hard not to take what everyone says at face value. Too many lies. Too much conflicting information. I know to do research on what I'm told before trusting it, though. So there's that. Best piece of advice came from a fictional character. Gibbs rule number 3. Never believe what you are told. Double check. 67 here. I've become a contrarian in many regards. Do the opposite of what the crowd does and in many cases, not all, it works out. Also, take care of your effing ears. I loved loud music and pumped it into my ears through headphones for decades. Now I've got tinnitus. It's not awful, but I'm never going to experience pure silence again. 66 here. Ears and teeth. Hearing aids and dental work are both expensive and neither is as good as taking care of the real stuff. I also spent enough to buy a house on cigarettes and alcohol. Finally, marry a woman with small hands. It'll make your dick look bigger. What about just having a big dick? Makes the search much easier. Then marry a woman with big hands. Done. Help your small dick bros out by taking one out of the pool. I like it. Don't get married to someone just because they'll have sex with you. Or as my staff sergeant said, whatever you do, don't marry the first women to make you breakfast. Good advice. The first woman that made me breakfast was my mom. Roll Tide. I'm not 60 but my dad will turn 71 in September. Back in 2008 when I graduated, my dad says, "Son, it's never too early to invest your money." I didn't back in 2008 because, well, the market crashed. I regret that a lot. The Dow Jones has tripled in value since 2009. The same can be said about the COVID-19 pandemic. In 10 years time the market will triple its value back in March. Take advantage of that. Yeah, that's the main reason I'm investing right now. I don't want to look back in 10 years and think, man, those stocks were so low during COVID. I should have invested. I picked some stocks and will just set it and forget about it, lol. Which stocks did you pick? I only have a small amount of money but would love to be able to leave something for my kids. Now college age. Just do an index fund. Don't drop a lot into a handful of stocks unless you're masochist. Okay, thanks. Single mom here, so worry about leaving them a little something something. Do not go to a competitive college right out of high school. Get your prereqs done at a community college. Trust me. Edit. Oh wow. My first gold. Thanks friend. This is the best advice I ever got. I'm on my second year of community college and my school has a direct transfer agreement with the best public university in my area. Plenty of my high school friends went straight to that university and are now paying per quarter what I'm paying for an entire year and were getting pretty similar educations out of it. I did something similar. 2 years of community college, electrical engineering tech, with intentions of moving over to university when done. I wanted to be an electrical engineer eventually. They had a similar thing where most credits would transfer over. Instead I realized I was more interested in finishing school as a tradesman in a similar field. I ended up as an instrumentation journeyman. I can't even imagine the money and time I would have wasted at university just to realize I didn't want to be an engineer. Choose your life partner wisely, or don't choose one at all. Travel provides a better education than anything you can learn at school. Life is short. Pack as much into it as you can. Going the prescribed path isn't worth the stress of living an unexamined life. My grandfather used to say, it's not about marrying the one you love. It's about marrying the one you don't ducking hate. Exactly what he meant. I'm not sure. Everyone is crazy. Marry the least craziest one. Or the one who's crazy you can handle. Save money early. Don't care what other people think. Get out of your comfort zone. Take care of your body. Take care of your body. This is the one I need to get working on. I'm 36 and prego W my second. I never got my body back after the first baby depression. I got this ship back together. Thanks for the clear message. My 74-year-old mom answered. When I was in grad school, a teaching position in photography opened up and I didn't take it. I thought, gee, I wonder what would have happened. I don't know what it is. I had opportunities here. I just didn't take that one. Out of all of the opportunities, that was one that was staying in my area and that one seemed far away. I should have looked at the opportunity differently and researched it out. Honestly, I am now glad that I lived life fast and hard. I'm paying for it health-wise, but I had fun and I did more good than harm. The future doesn't look bright at this moment. What kind of fast and hard? Cocaine and hookers. I'd have worked less when the kids were little. I routinely worked 55 hours a week and no, we didn't get overtime. I've had a very successful career, but you can't buy that time back with money. I was always trying to prove myself to my dad and took until mid-30s to realize this was my life. I've always worked more than I should, but when the kids were little I should have had different priorities. Wish my dad had offset, son. Slow down and enjoy the ride. I've told my kids, only push that hard for you. Don't do it for anyone else and I'll love them no matter what. So far they are all doing well, but none are workaholics. Very grateful that stopped with me and I didn't pass it down. Also, the best way to love your kids is to love your spouse. My son is 7 and I have twins that are almost 2. I worked as a delivery driver when my son was younger, so I was out of the house 14 hours a day 5 days a week and exhausted on the weekends. I feel like I missed a big part of his younger years and it makes me sad. Thankfully I'm now working from home and getting to see my kids grow and learn in front of me is amazing. I sat on the couch this evening with my son and asked him how he liked having me home so much, and he said it was awesome, but he would be sad when I had to go back out to drive. It made me very happy to tell him I'd be working from home as long as I had my current job. I should have tried harder to keep my house. I lost it to foreclosure. I shouldn't have married my third husband. My advice? Don't marry a loser and work harder. I'm sorry you had to deal with that. But I want don't marry a loser and work harder on a t-shirt. I want one too. One thing to be sure to do is take care of your body. It's easy to do things in your teens, 20s, and 30s that come back to bite you in the butt when you're in your 50s, 60s and 70s. Go to the dentist 3 times a year if you can. Do yoga twice a week. Don't smoke, drink alcohol, or do drugs. Eat vegetarian or vegan if you can swing it. Meditate. Take it easy on your joints, including things like running and other impact sports. Cartilage does not grow back. Watch out for getting too much sun. Time and money spent taking care of your body is very worthwhile. Sounds like a very boring and fearful existence. There is likely a middle ground here, but you may well end up agreeing with this person by the end. Perspectives change as we grow. It's a bit baffling that a lot of those easy tasks are considered boring. The dentist visits, yoga, meditation, moderate exercise etc. sound completely normal and are well beyond doable. Going vegan, yeah, fair enough. But you can do just as well without. The no smoking and drugs are shit you learn in primary, and alcohol can be done in moderation if you really want your fix. Exactly. These are pretty basic low effort things that are obviously a basic part of having a long, healthy and happy life. If someone equates them to being boring, it's probably because they are broken somehow. Never go to a secondary location. SSDGM. Stay out of the forest. You're in a cult. Call your dad. If you have a choice, spend money on experiences, like traveling, instead of spending money on things to acquire. Likewise, if given the choice to experience something new or staying at home where it's safe, experience something new. Choose option C, stay home and take mushrooms. A safe new experience. Mushrooms can be extremely unsafe if used in the wrong mindset and or wrong setting. A bad trip can lead to a mental breakdown. Never heard of anyone dying, but I have heard people wish they were dead. I wish I had been kinder to my husband. We bickered about small things that really weren't important. I wish I could tell him how sorry I am. Almost a decade after we last had any contact, through lawyers about our divorce, I just managed to track down my ex-husband to apologize for how things ended. It went surprisingly well, and the feeling of absolution really does lift a huge weight off your shoulders. Assuming he still is alive, there is always an opportunity to say you're sorry. That's great that you were able to do that. No, my husband died at age 57 after we were married 35 years. I know he would tell me it's okay, but sometimes we are so hard on the ones closest to us. So sorry to hear that. Should have kept struggling with my small business instead of throwing in the towel and taking a 9-to-5 job with benefits. If someone other than yourself is signing your paycheck, you're way underpaid. That depends on the type of work you do. Some small businesses operate on thin margins. You can do everything carefully and still fail. Imagine buying a lot of expensive equipment, an annual lease or a new mortgage on commercial real estate in a good part of town, and increased local advertising in 2019. I think we are going to see a surprising number of small business people lose their houses next year. The financial shortfall will be way too big for Congress to bail them out, even if the majority of voters wanted it, which we don't. If you go to college, don't follow your heart and study something that has absolutely little chance of making money. Take a look at what jobs are really in demand. Study something that is going to make you money, provide you with enough to raise your future family. I never dreamed of being a male nurse, but hey, it paid off immediately after graduating with great pay. It pays for the house, cars, wife and the kids, with a couple of nice vacations each year. I say this because I have relatives who studied things that were so goofy and niche that they couldn't find jobs after graduating. Even before the pandemic, there's a middle ground here. Make sure the major you pick is something you actually like and has opportunities. Profit isn't everything. You could get an engineering degree and end up hating your career so much you do something else. And now the degree is just as useless to you as any degree with no opportunities at all. Luckily there are lots of jobs out there that just want a college degree. Doesn't matter which. So at least you have options even if you can't find, or realize you hate, jobs in your field. I really hate that college is now just a 4-year incredibly expensive job training program. Colleges used to be about pursuing education. Now they are about getting a degree so more places will hire you. There's no point in being a well-paid engineer if you hate every single minute of it. We have shit labor laws and long working hours in the US. The majority of a person's waking hours are gonna be spent at work, so it's best to find something you at least enjoy, even if it doesn't pay as much as being an engineer. College was only ever about the education when college was for less than 25% of people, and it was the 25% of people that were going to get decent jobs no matter what they did because of their background and connections. And even then, the public universities were always more focused on practical education for the masses than the stereotypical small liberal arts college that only pumped out a few hundred grads per year. Bro, you actually watched the whole video. I'd give you a high five if I was a human. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more great content. See you next time.